enable your video, you can, and then we can all see each other if you have video on your device. Okay, so do you guys have any questions about Zoom before we start? There's a mute button it looks like you guys have already found. Whoops. Oh no, that's not good. Hold on. Just a second. Oh, shoot. My computer screen is doing something really weird, but I'm going to go ahead and share again. And what's weird is that right now I can't see you all. So, oh, I can see the text box and I can hear people, but I can't see people. So,
I can see them.
I know. What's happened though is I have that part of my computer screen is covered with something that I can't get to move without.
Suzanne?
Yeah.
What's covering what?
Okay, so my extra monitor has a problem in that if I drag something over there and I make it enlarge it, it takes over the whole screen and I can't X out of it. Like there's no, I can't make it smaller.
So what's taking up your whole extra monitor screen right now?
The text chat, and it's on top of the video and I can't make it smaller.
Okay, go to your bottom of your Zoom screen where the options are and go to more.
I can't see that.
You can if you
I see it now. Okay, now what?
Cursor, click the chat button.
Okay. Oh. Okay, great. Thank you. Now I can see everybody.
You're welcome.
Welcome back.
That was not a good feeling.
No, that's how we went through the last webinar. I learned a lot. So please feel free to reach out and ask for help because okay. I get it now.
Well, that just kind of panicked me for a second. And this extra monitor, I love the extra monitor, but sometimes it causes me problems. Okay. So that way I can have all of this, I can see everything really well. All right, I'm sorry. So we're going to get started. And since we have a small enough group, if you all don't mind, we'd love to hear you introduce yourselves in person instead of just through the text box. Katie, do you want to go first?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, I'm Katie Whitney. I'm guidance counselor at Warren Elementary. I'm going to be multitasking if you don't mind during this. I'm trying to cook dinner and take care of. So if that's okay with you guys, if you don't mind.
Absolutely not. We absolutely don't mind at all. We completely understand. Actually, that's what's some of the beauty of a webinar is that it enables you to take care of your 2-month-old and cook dinner and try to work at the same time. Where is that elementary school at? What county are you?
We're in Warren County, Bowling Green.
Okay, so you're one of Amanda's
Yeah. We work real close together. We
Good.
have the same clientele.
I'm glad she's sucking you in here. All right, thanks. Sarah, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Sarah Greenwell. I'm a guidance counselor at Breckin County High School.
Okay, great. And Kristen? Oh, you don't have a mic.
She's put her answer in the text box, so go ahead and you can read there. Awesome.
Hi, Kristen.
Okay, so and I'm going to show you, let's see. Our next slide, whoops, I'm sorry. I'm having like technology bad luck today. The three of us that are hosting are all nationally board certified teachers, but Amanda's our special guest because she's the only one who's gone through as a school counselor. So Amanda, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hey, I'm Amanda Warder. I'm a guidance counselor. It's my 7th year in guidance counseling in Warren County, Kentucky at Henry Moss Middle School. And I went through my national boards. I just found out this time last year I passed, so the year before.
Very exciting. And I'm Suzanne Farmer, and I am on an MOA right now from the Danville Independent Schools, working on a project with Lauren Hill and many other great people that are paid to work on the grant as part of our jobs right now. And I'm full time, and so I work to kind of coordinate the statewide efforts to support teachers through national board certification. So we're recruiting teachers and trying to support them through the process. And we're also looking at ways to support teacher leaders and teacher leadership. And Lauren, who I wanted to definitely introduce herself, she's kind of working behind the scenes tonight, managing the text box and helping with technology. But I wanted Lauren to explain her position because it's really exciting.
Okay, so no pressure. Here, you can even see me while I do it. I'm Lauren Hill, and I'm super pleased to be working with Suzanne and the amazing people that she mentioned. I am on an MOA, but only for half of my job. I teach high school AP language in the morning, and then in the afternoon, I get to work on the grant. And so we call this hybrid job a teacherpreneur because I get to be entrepreneurial in how I spend the second half of my day, working to develop programs and support national board certification and teacher leadership. And I'm really glad that you guys are here because Suzanne and Amanda have a lot of real insight into how this national board process goes for counselors. So I'm going to click my video back off and be here if you need me.
Thanks. Lauren, we're recording, right?
Yes.
Okay, just making sure. So I should explain that the project that Lauren and I work with, I said it was a network to transform teaching. I didn't really describe our partners very well. And we are funded through a U.S. Department of Ed grant. And we work with 3 agencies here of education, the Kentucky Education Professional Standards Board, and the Kentucky Education Association. And we are also national partners with National Board. We are working together with a lot of other agencies that aren't official grant partners with our work. Okay. So this is a quote that, that we liked, is that really a lot about differentiation, and that as teachers we're constantly learning, which is a huge part of this process with National Board. Some of the things that National Board is, it's a certification that reflects your knowledge, your content knowledge, and your teaching skills. It's absolutely voluntary, and by doing it, obviously, on a voluntary basis, you're setting yourself apart from people that are only working on what they're required to do. It's more than anything, it's really powerful and relevant professional development. So everyone that you will talk to that has gone through national board, everyone that I have met in this position, and there's been a lot of teachers that are nationally board certified, they all say that it's one of the best professional development experiences that they've ever had as a teacher. People will tell you time and time again that they learn more through national board than a master's degree or in college. So it helps you to really reflect on your growth. It's based on national standards that are written by teachers and other educators. To be eligible for to apply as a candidate for national board, you have to have at least 3 years teaching or working as a school counselor in a public or private school, preschool through 12th grade. You have to have a bachelor's degree from an accredited institution and a valid license. If you have a master's or a 5th-year degree, it will give you your rank 1. And I know Amanda had said most school counselors leave their programs already with a rank 1, and so that's not necessarily a motivator for people to pursue national board. And I know that Lauren and I think Amanda, we all had our rank 1 before we became nationally board certified.
I didn't have my rank 1.
Oh, you didn't?
I had several hours towards my rank 1, but I did not have my rank 1.
Okay, well, Lauren and I did. And so sometimes people will say, and I get a question a lot, like, why would you do this if you already have your rank 1? And is this for me if I already have my rank 1? And absolutely, yes. It's really more about, of course, it's nice to get your rank 1 out of the way while doing it. But it's going to make you a better counselor or a better teacher. So I did it for the growth, and the stipend doesn't hurt either, the additional stipend. It also opens a lot of doors in terms of advancing your career. People will start to look at you as a teacher leader. They might involve you with, you'll get involved with other activities across the state and sometimes in the country. The state right now gives a $2,000 stipend for every year of the life of your certificate. Some districts also give an additional amount on top of the $2,000 a year. The certificate is a 10-year certificate, and at that point you renew, and I have renewed, and it's really actually a lot easier than initial certification. It's not bad. In a lot of states, if you're somebody who might be moving, a lot of states recognize, I think there's 37 that will consider this like a portable teaching license. Okay, so it's also going to improve everything for your students. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this slide. It will also help in your school because it helps with your community. Because you're going to be doing a lot of collaboration. It improves your relationships between teachers, helps with mentoring. One of the things that National Board will tell you, and they don't give a lot of examples of what your answers should look like. There's not, like, you can't find out you can't look at someone's portfolio to see what they did. People that have certified are tied to ethically to not share their portfolio with people because they don't want someone to look at someone's portfolio and determine that that's what I need to be doing. There's a lot of ways to show that you're a nationally board certified teacher. You don't have to, there's not one way or one cookie cutter way to be certified. But everybody who becomes nationally board certified will show that they're reflective and that they have the content knowledge, and you can do it in a lot of different ways. And really, people all the time will ask, like, this is a lot of extra work. Is this really going to be relevant? Really, it's not anything in addition to what you're already doing. It's just doing what you already do better. It's forcing you to think about how to improve your instruction in terms of, like, looking at assessments and designing instruction based on assessments, improving your differentiation, improving your collaboration. So it's just looking at what you already do and forcing yourself to do it better. And I've already mentioned that the standards are written by practicing teachers. They're also involved with developing the assessments, scoring the assessments, and classroom teachers work as mentors, and they're also involved in advocating for this work. I've also mentioned that National Board is more, compared to a traditional graduate coursework, it's a lot more relevant because you're reflecting on yourself. You're choosing what you want to learn and how you're going to need to grow. You're deciding what you want to learn more about in terms of what you need to personally research. You're deciding how you're going to collaborate and work with what your school needs and what your students need, rather than completing an assignment from an instructor. There's actually been a lot of research to prove that National Board Certification is more effective and has more impact on improving instruction than a master's degree. We also know that the professional growth and effectiveness system is, as you know, fully implemented this year for teachers, and next year you all will have the OPGES. I know Amanda has been to some trainings about the OPGES and can talk a little bit about what she's learned there and how this is very much like National Board.
When I went to the training a couple weeks ago on OPGES, it is to me, it doesn't seem like a big deal because I've been through national boards. They're using the same standards. It's a mini national boards every year. So if you do national boards, then OPGES is just something that will come naturally for you. It's not anything extra, or, you know, I didn't hit the panic button when I saw it at all. It's really reflecting and looking at what you do and looking at data for things and growth with students. And that's something that I learned a lot through national boards.
Great. So, I don't know if you saw Amanda Kristen in the chat box is sharing that she's doing the pilot for OPGES this year. And I would think, Kristen, that you're going to see a lot of this overlap, like Amanda is saying. One of the things that I recently learned at a meeting that Lauren and I were at with some of our partners on the national level. I didn't mention, but this grant that we have here in Kentucky, the NT3, there are other NT3 sites in the country. New York State, Washington State, Arizona, us, and Albuquerque and San Francisco. And at one of our meetings that we were just at with our partners, I was learning a little bit about the history of National Board. And one of the people that was in our group was explaining that back in the day when they were writing the National Board standards, Charlotte Danielson was one of the people at the table helping to write those standards. So I think it makes a lot of sense that we're seeing some overlap with her work. And if you haven't seen the PGS domains, they're listed on the right. And that's just the overarching domains. And you'll see in the National Board 5 core propositions that there's a whole lot of overlap between what you're looking at. You're looking at improving your instruction, your classroom environment, how you design instruction, and growing yourself as a professional. So with both of those, you'll see it in the 5 core propositions, but you'll also see it in the 4 components that are in the new National Board. And you know what? I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this slide. This is just, there's an architecture of accomplished teaching with National Board, and really this is just saying that it's that constant teaching and learning cycle where you're reflecting and designing and implementing instruction, and then you reflect and assess. Good question, Lauren. I'll get to that. So everyone on this call, really, I think is all going to be interested in the same certificate area, which is the school counseling, because the school counselors, that's obviously the only one but there are 25 certificates and in 17 different areas. One of the things that's exciting about National Board right now is that because we have some grants in the state, that this is, we have opportunities to provide candidates with compensate and train mentors to help you. And I can't imagine, I had a really good mentor, and it made a big difference in my support that I had as a candidate. We're providing Jumpstart trainings through KEA regionally, and we can offer that to candidates free that want to attend a Jumpstart training. And because there's a large there's a large recruitment effort, we already have more candidates at this point this year than we did at the end of the recruitment cycle last year. And we still have about 2 months more to recruit candidates. And because there's going to be a large candidate pool, we're able to offer more support. Oh, good question, Kristen. So mentors, right now there's only 8 school counselors that are nationally board certified in the state of Kentucky. If you look on the, there's a directory where you can look people up, and I think there were about 12 listed, but many of those have retired or their certification has lapsed, or they're not on the global anymore, so I couldn't find some of them. But actually, mentors don't have to be in your area. If you're interested in a mentor that is a school counselor, there are a couple that are interested in serving as mentors for school counselors. And because of the location of everyone, that might have to be done virtually. So it may be that you meet sometimes with a school counselor, and you may also have somebody you connect with in your school district that can help you face-to-face, that not necessarily 2 mentors, but you may have other people that can help you within your district too, or locally.
Kristen, that was the first question I asked when I started, because I went to Jumpstart and everybody kind of paired with their group, and there was nobody. It was just me. And I was never able to work with a counselor, and I made it, but I would be glad to help you any that I can if you decide to do this and answer questions for you, because it is different. We're a different group, and it was kind of hard. But it does help to have any national board certified person to kind of look over your reading, your writing, and things like that. So it would be good either way.
And Kristen, to be assigned a mentor when you become a candidate, then we work within the regions, and you can request that there's somebody who you want to work with. And we have regional teams of people that are helping to assign those mentors. So you probably won't get any information about that unless your district does their own mentor support, where they are paying their own mentors. If they're coming through us, then we would need you to be registered. And I'll show you how to do that if you're interested. That's part of the talk tonight. So that's one of the things that's nice about this grant. It's enabling us to do things like these webinars and to connect people across the state. Whereas I know when Amanda was doing it, there weren't grants out there. There weren't even paid mentors anywhere unless your district was doing it. And there certainly wasn't a way to a network to try to connect school counselors with each other. I understand why people want to be connected with people in their area, because I was the same way. When I certified, I was a preschool teacher, and it wasn't common for preschool teachers to be certified. So I had a preschool teacher that I drove a long ways to meet with her in person. But I also worked with people outside of my certificate area, because it's helpful for other people to read for you, so that you can make sure that your writing is clear enough that somebody who's outside of your area of expertise will understand what you're saying. Often the people who know what you're saying will fill in the blanks, and they'll understand what you're talking about because they're also content experts. So it's helpful to work across content areas and within content areas, I think, at the same time. So with the new national board rollout, there is some flexibility with the timeline, which will make a big difference for people like Katie, who are busy with 2-month-olds. So when I certified, when I started, my daughter was probably about 4 or 5 months old, and I had to do all of it in 1 year. And I didn't feel like a very good mother that year, because it was really hard to have a child and be a wife and be a teacher and certify at the same time. So I know Amanda's got 3 kids too. So, oh, 2. I thought you, okay, yeah, sorry. So the components right now, they've lessened, they've collapsed some of the components, which is good news. Everything is also fully electronic. The 2 components that are being rolled out this year are component 1, which is the content knowledge. It's a computer-based assessment center. And component 2, which is differentiation and instruction. And it's a portfolio entry that is based on that you use student work samples as evidence. Next year, component 3 will be rolled out, which is teaching practice and learning environment, which will have some videotape with it, and it will be another portfolio entry. And then the year after that, component 4 will be rolled out, and that's effective and reflective practitioner. This is the timeline, again, of when those different components will be rolled out. So next year, if you waited until next year to start, or someone is starting next year, there would be 3 components available, and they wouldn't have to do all of them that year. You would have, starting this year, you'll always have 3 years, up to 3 years to complete. So you could do it, if you started in 16, 17, you could, if you wanted to, you could knock it out in a year, or you could do 2 years or 3 years. And this is just a chart that shows what the deadlines and fees are. So each component is $475, and you only pay that the year that you're doing it. So it's nice because the cost is spread out over time too. Each year that you want to stay an active candidate, it's $75. So to take 3 years instead of 1, you're paying an extra $150, which I think is a pretty small price to pay for that opportunity to spread the work out over 3 years. The deadline to pay and enroll for this year is February 28th. It will probably be around the same time the next 2 years. This year, you could submit components 1 and or 2. Component 1 is due on June 15th, and component 2, which is the portfolio entry, is due on May 15th. Some people have asked if there's an advantage or disadvantage to doing both of those this year, and that's just really a personal decision. Some people think that they would like to wait and have more time to study and learn before taking their test because they feel like they need to prepare more for that. And want to wait and give themselves another year or 2 before they take the assessment. I think it makes a lot of sense to do, though, if you're going to do 3 years, to make sure you do 1 portfolio entry a year, and you're not expecting you're trying to do more than 1 portfolio entry in a year. Like, I wouldn't just do component 1 this year and do 2 and 3 next year or something. I think 1 portfolio entry a year makes a lot of sense, and just do component 1 when you feel like you're ready. In order to, so there's the $75 application fee, and then you can immediately start your portfolio components. You can even start your portfolio components before you apply, because all of that is available online. You don't have to pay to see it. Then when you go to submit, then you're going to be, or actually all of your eligibility and forms, and you have to pay your remaining balance. And then you're going to schedule your assessment and take it if you do all of that this year. And actually, that's just another way to look at all of those deadlines. So component 1 is your content knowledge. There's 3 constructed response items. You have 30 minutes to complete each one, and they're scenario-based. And then there's approximately 45 selected response items. The selected response is new, so that's something Amanda, none of us have ever had. You know, they're just releasing the selected response for the first time. I field tested, and all of mine were multiple choice, and I think we're doing the same thing. So I'm assuming that the selected response are all multiple choice. And we're going to look in a second at what the component 1 for. We'll look at the specifics for just the school counselors, so you can see exactly what they've got for that, and show you where you can find it, and you can download that information too. Component 2 is differentiation and instruction, and this is almost identical to an entry that Amanda completed when she certified last year, which then was a portfolio entry. For this, you have 12 pages that you will write, but then you are going to be including evidence from student work. And Amanda, do you want to talk a little bit about this, and we'll look at it more specifically? I'll show them where to find it.
Mm-hmm. When I did entry 1, which is it's component 1, it's almost exactly the same. I did a small group, and then I used the student work samples, and you analyze those, and then you talk. And when you do your portfolio, there are questions that you answer. I know I was panicked about writing that much, and I had to spend time cutting mine down to 12 pages, because once you start writing and answering those questions, you have a lot to say. So, but it's not that bad at all. You just do it's a small group. It's not even a whole class, and you pick some kind of issue. I did one with my relationally aggressive girls because of office referrals, and I was able to use that data to show that there was a need. So you pick a need in your school.
And I think it's required that it's a small group, and that it actually the work samples that you would submit are from 3 different students, and I think it's 3 work samples from the 3 different students, and we can look at that more specifically to answer some questions about that in a minute. So again, if you're starting this year, it will be at least a 3-year process, but each time you submit something, so if you submitted 2 components this year, you would get the results on those components in at least by the end of December. The candidates from last year, they just found out on Saturday. So it's usually before Thanksgiving, but they don't guarantee anything. They say at least by the end of December. So you would know how you did on those first 2 entries as you're working on your second year. And you could be banking individual parts if you feel good about it, or you could be retaking individual parts if you felt like that you needed to do better in those areas to certify. The certification is good for 10 years, again, and you can start renewing in your 8th year because you can't let it lapse. So you get 3 attempts at recertification. I have some links in here to show you some of the sites. So one of the things you need to do if you're interested in this is to get familiar with the website. The website here is boardcertifiedteachers.org, and there's a lot of really great information on it. There's about certification and get started. There's some resources listed on our state, and let me go back. Okay, and I'm going to show you this one. There's a registration link. So if you decide that you want to become a candidate, you just click on the Get Started tab, and it just has you walk through this Apply Now and just answer the questions. It's pretty basic. You choose a certificate area. Obviously, you all, some people have a hard time choosing. You guys don't have to worry about that. And you have to submit something, I think, from your district or your principal to prove that you are eligible. They just have to sign off on something. And something I should mention while I'm thinking of it is if you register as a candidate, no one will know that you're registered unless there's someone who is working like with this grant who's trying to offer you some free services. So in that case, then if I'm trying to offer you free services, I can email you to say, great, I can see you're a candidate. If you want to attend a Jumpstart or if you want to mentor, let us know and we can try to connect you. You don't have to do any of those things. Some people want to just remain private and work on their own. Your school will not know unless you tell them that you're going through this process. So if there's resources available, you need to let them know that you want them. And if you ask, oftentimes your schools will support you. Some districts will do release time for you to work or to go to a training or to visit somebody or something like that. And there's no way to know unless you ask. We can connect you with people regionally that probably have already had those conversations with your superintendent. Okay, so The certification areas are listed on the website, and when you scroll down to the school counselor, component 1 is right here, and when you click on it, it'll download and you can open it up. Component 2 is right here, and it has all of that in a zip file. Component 2 is a little more involved in terms of downloading. And then these are the standards for school counseling. The standards are pretty long and meaty for all of the different areas. They all relate to these same big ideas. There's 10 big ideas within all of these standards, but they're going to tweak it and make it look a little different so that you can see what they're saying about what it should look like for a school counselor to be able to do those things. So one of the things that I recommend to people is to start reading their standards and to look at them closely and to see what you already feel like you're doing well and where you need to grow. You need to get familiar with the standards language, because that's the same language that you'll want to incorporate into your writing and into your assessment center, so that they know that you understand the standards and are demonstrating that you can do the standards. So component 1, this is the assessment center. So this part here talks about this grid, this rubric with these percentages, shows you the different percentages for the topics this is just in the multiple choice, in the selected response. So 40% of the selected response is on school counseling program leadership, advocacy, and professional identity. And then 30% of the multiple choice is on human growth and development, and 30% is on counseling theories, equity, and fairness. And then there are 3 constructed response exercises. Exercise 1, the school counseling program. Exercise 2, counseling theories and techniques. And exercise 3, the school climate. Those, for my content area, they were very much scenario based. Amanda, was it like that for school counselors too?
Yes. And when you scroll down, you'll see the scenarios, but they were all scenario based.
Mm-hmm. And there's an example in here.
Mm-hmm.
Here's an example of one, a released item. So, where you see these blue screens, this is what your screen would look like. This is kind of the screenshot, and it would tell you exactly how much time you have remaining at the top of the screen. It's all computer-based. And then often for the scenarios, the prompt may take more than one screen to go through and read. And that's something that you'll get familiar with as you practice for the assessment center. Okay, I think I have component 2. Can you see this? Did that pop up? No. Okay, hold on. I need to flip what I'm showing.
While she's doing that, when looking at through the multiple choice and all the counseling theories, I would recommend that if you've just got, through with your master's classes or your classes, that you go ahead and take that component, sooner than later, because that was a challenge for me. It had been 7 years since I had finished my master's. So I had to really go back and get my counseling theories books out and study those things that you don't use every single day in the field.
That's a really good suggestion, Amanda.
I pulled, Kristen asked if there's recommendations of resources. I pulled my old counseling theories book and made notes out of that. I studied all the developmental stages from my education books. And then I also, and I told her I'm going to have to go and look at what the company was, but I ordered some study cards off of the internet that was promoting national board studying for the assessments for school counseling, and used those. They weren't all, there were hundreds of them, and they weren't all what I studied, but I pulled the ones that I thought would be best to study from and use those.
Okay, I'm trying to share this PDF and it's not wanting to. Oh wait, here we go. Got it. Can you all see that?
Yes.
Okay, so this is component 2. And this one is a much thicker packet. There's several documents that will be in this zip drive, and one of them is the directions, and it's the ECYASC component 2. And you'll flip through them and find that one is more general instructions, and then this is the specific one. So here's the component portfolio entry. This is kind of your overview here, where it said to identify a critical student need, gather and analyze data related to that need, and use that analysis to design small group sessions that implement differentiation and instruction, specifically differentiation and process. So it's going to ask you then to show the, to talk about what the activities are, and what it's asking. I'm scrolling down, I'm sorry. But it asks you specifically to talk about, hold on.
That's you get very familiar with those pages right there.
Mm-hmm. These are your big directions. There are some questions that are embedded in here, and it asks you, here's where it's saying that you could do what kind of things you can submit for student work, and how to take care of some of those ideas. You have an instructional context section, the planning and implementation section, analysis of student work, and reflection. And they actually give you some page suggestions. So the instructional context is 1 page, and it actually gives you these italicized questions. Those are your prompts of the questions that you have to answer within that page. And then for planning and instruction, suggested length 5 pages, as just some guiding questions to help you with that. And as Amanda said, once you start writing, you'll find that it's hard to keep it within page length. And the writing is very brief and concise and to the point. It's not flowery. You don't have room for flowery. And it's first person language, which feels a little weird at first. And then you're going to analyze the student work. And before was that it talks about how you're really giving the students similar goals, and in terms of like they're all working on this same big idea. And I know with Amanda's, yours was more about girls that were bullying, right? Mm-hmm. So they would all be working on this bullying, and they would be doing similar things. But then how did you differentiate the prompt, or what was expected from each student? How is that differentiated for each one? And that's part of what you're expected to write about with this, is how do you differentiate that instruction for that small group, even though they're all working on the same big idea? Okay, I'm going to click out of this document and go back to, I'm going to stop sharing for a second and go back to the hold on. Going back to, I've got a million things open, to the PowerPoint. Okay, hold on. Okay, can you see it again?
I see it.
Great. So if you decide that this is for you, go ahead and start downloading the directions and the components in your standards. If you're interested in a jump start, we can provide you with the dates for where those are so that you could get registered in your area. Let us know if you want a mentor, and talk to your district if you feel comfortable to ask them what supports they provide, and we can also work with your district to encourage more of that. We have ambassadors who are doing that for us, and we have districts every day that are committing new things to this work. This is one of the things, another reflection quote on somebody who completed National Board. And every reflection is a huge piece with this and in the OPGS and the PGS framework in general. You're going to learn to really look at yourself really carefully. And sometimes it's tough because you realize that you have a lot more to learn than maybe you think. And that it's really going to push you to be a better teacher and counselor. Kristen, oh yeah, thanks Lauren for taking care of that. So some of the resources here, if you're interested in learning more about some of the resources with KEA, they have a website. They also have an email that you can direct questions to that is answered by a lot of different people that are doing that support work for them. National Board they have their website. They also have the 1-800-22-TEACH number. And I forgot to put this on here, but they've also, if you look on the Contact Us on their website, they now also have an email where you can direct questions through an email and get a written answer. We have a website with our project and a Twitter account. So we tweet about all the exciting things going on with National Board and teacher leadership. You're also welcome to contact me anytime. If you're a veteran or a spouse of a veteran, you can use the GI Bill to pay for the application costs. If you're in the 1st or 5th congressional districts, there's also support through the Gates Grant that you may be eligible for some of the cost of your application. It's not the whole thing, it's not even close, but it is something to help. A lot of professional organizations have scholarships. There's usually federal subsidy money that is divvied out amongst people once they certify. There's no guarantee of that though, and that's on a temporary freeze. But there is money that it has been, like this year, there will be candidates that get that money. So it is important to go ahead and apply for that and to use those forms so that we can get you the money if there's any available. And again, your district has a lot of other good supports. So we've thrown a lot out there. Do you guys have any questions? Or Amanda, if you want to spend some time talking about your experience, if they have any, I'm sure they want to hear me about the specifics.
Kristen asked about Jumpstart, and I thought it was very helpful, Kristen. Could you do it without it? Probably. If you can get it, if somebody's paying for it or you can get it, my district paid for me to do it. I would recommend it. I had done something called the Take One through my district. They paid for me to do one entry. I think it was kind of like just to see how we did, so that before they rolled out the new components. So I did one entry one year, and then the next year I did the other 3. And so I kind of already knew what I was doing. So there's parts of Jumpstart that wasn't as helpful to me, but the people that were there were very glad to be there. And it gives you just 2 good days to really start working, like making your folders with your questions and that sort of thing. So if you can do it and it's paid for, I would recommend to do it.
Well, and I did not do Jumpstart for my initial certification because I couldn't afford it. But now through our grant, we can offer that free. So it is paid for. It's a good opportunity with a lot of great resources. And I did something similar when I renewed, and it did help me get in the right framework to get started. But, you know, I think it's a personal thing. You don't have to do it, but it could be helpful to get you started.
You guys have any other questions?
Okay. The pass rate nationally is a little less than 50% on the first attempt. And each year that people enter again, then they have a better chance of certifying. So the pass rates go up for each year that people work on the process. The people that, when I started, everyone told me to consider it a 3-year process. And that was, if I'm submitting 1 year, to give yourself the chance to retake until you complete it. And it's really nothing to be embarrassed about if you don't certify on the first try, because there could be a lot of reasons for that. Sometimes people have something going on in their personal life, and it's just hard to focus on it. It is too much to do and deal with something that's going on in your life. Could be that maybe you are really good at what you're doing and you're having a difficult time providing the evidence and writing about it to prove it to somebody else. It could be that maybe there's an area that that you need to spend more time growing and you're not quite there yet. Some people, it really bothers them to think that I could be trying something and I might not, they're scared I might not pass. And it is scary, but it's definitely worth it. And there's a lot of support to help you, whether you certify the first time or not. There's people that are retake candidates right now that are getting support from us. And like I said, it's nothing to be embarrassed about. And to me, it almost meant a little more when I certified that it's something that you don't automatically get just because you complete the work, that there is a high standard and it is recognized that it really, you're not going to automatically get a certification just because you submit 12 pages of work.
Kristen, when I did my take one, and this is hard, I think, for us, because if you are looking into doing national boards, then you are a hard worker and you're probably an overachiever when it comes to your job. So we aren't used to failing. We're used to passing things. And when I did my take one and I got those scores back, I did not have a passing score on that entry. And I'm not going to lie, I was devastated because I never failed anything. And I couldn't believe it. And I almost didn't go ahead and finish because why would I waste all that time? And so they talked me into it, and, I did the rest of it, and I passed my first time as far as all 4 entries. I didn't have to redo that entry. I was encouraged to keep that. They gave me money to keep the entry I had. So that's what I did. I just kept it, and I thought, well, if I've got to do it another year, at least I got paid to keep this entry. So I kept that take one entry, and I ended up passing the whole thing because I think I knew more about what they were looking for, and I was already more in the national board mode when I did the other 3 entries. So I think when they broke this up into these components, they had that in mind because now you're doing it over an amount of time. So you get that first score back and it's not exactly how you wanted it to be. And then okay, because I think some of my writing was a little fluffy that first time. So I knew what to do to make things better for the rest of the time. So I really encourage you to not be afraid of failing that, because especially with these new components and it being spread out over 3 years, I would be very interested to see what the passing rate will be for people at that point.
That's a good point, that might change how you're doing it, because part of what was so difficult in our process was trying to juggle it all at the same time. And I think that this is a really nice way to approach it, in that you're really only thinking about one big idea each year. So you're really delving deep this year into differentiation, and next year into your learning environment, and the last year as reflecting on yourself as a professional. So I think that it allows you to dig deeper and to focus more on those things, and to not have to multitask as much. Because of course there's going to be multitasking between your job and time to write, and your family, and all of the other expectations. But it's at least you're not juggling a lot of different components of national board at the same time. Any more questions? Are y'all feeling like this is something that you might want to tackle? It's okay to be nervous, Kristen. It's a big decision.
But just think what you'll be a part of. There's 8 of us.
It's a pretty elite club.
We're pretty elite.
It is kind of overwhelming, but I think that the new process, it will be less so.
I do too. I really think that this new way of doing it is going to be a lot better for you guys. It is, Katie, but you know you're going to have support, and it's one of the most supported things I've ever done. I mean, you're just a big team, and the people that went through it with me, we read each other's entries and proofread, and none of them were counselors, but it's you can do this, and it is something to be very proud of when you're finished.
One of the exciting opportunities, one of the things I like about this position that I'm in right now is that I get a lot of chances to talk to really great and outstanding teacher leaders all throughout Kentucky. And I was just invited. I'd never been invited to this. I don't know, maybe you all have met this group before, but the commissioner has a teacher advisory council, and they're a very elite group of teachers. One of the teachers on that group, who I'm fairly certain got me included in that, is a national board certified teacher who, Ruth Ann Sweezy, who's one of our core members of our team and helped to write this grant. And when I was talking with that group about National Board, every single one of the teachers on that advisory council are nationally board certified. They also have all renewed, so they've been certified for quite a long time, and they're veterans at it and are supporting this work. And everything that the commissioner said during that 2-hour meeting, or that other people said, was backed up by how important National Board work was and how National Board was going to change the instruction in this state. So I really think that, this is supported on a statewide level, and it's really something to be proud of and excited about. It's really going to transform our profession, the more people that do it. You can do it, Kristen.
You can do it, Kristen. The assessments really, I'm telling you, for the guidance, I mean, the scenarios are things that you deal with on a daily basis. So you will be fine as far as the assessments go. Like I said, the main thing you got to do is kind of look over those theories and just the things that you don't use every day. We're not pulling out Adlerian theory very often in our guidance office. So you just have to kind of look at those things. But that's definitely, that would be, you got that part, I think. So,
well,
snow days.
Actually, one of the other things that I had somebody the other day that was asking me, he was really nervous about it. He said he wasn't a good writer and he was very scared about it. And he was thinking it was going to be more like a research project, and a lot of that research type writing that we do in grad school. And it's not at all the same thing. This is not that kind of writing. This is writing about what you do. And it's not the kind of writing where you're going to be following, like, you don't have to pull out your AP guide or anything like that. This is just clear writing, good writing, but clear writing, and it doesn't have to be a research project. It's not a research project unless you're considering researching your classroom and your kids. I mean, that's really, or your I keep saying classroom, but your the kids that you work with as a guidance counselor and the students in your building that you've identified.
Trust me, I used to, during my master's courses, like scout out the classes to see who didn't make you write papers. Like I do not like to write. I am not a good writer. I was a math and science teacher before I was a guidance counselor, and writing is not my cup of tea. But don't let that stop you, because if you're a good guidance counselor and you're doing those standards, then the rest of that it will fall into place. There's people that will read your writing and help you. So don't let that scare you away.
I'm not sure what I think that's Ellen McCain that has a question about how guidance counselor national board is different from regular classroom national board expectations. Oh, thank you, Laura. Okay, so now we know your name. Welcome. And we've talked quite a bit about what is expected of the guidance counselors, but we haven't really compared it to general teachers. And
can you hear me, Suzanne?
yes.
Okay, maybe I should mute it and unmute it based on my children, okay? Okay. Thank you.
No, I'm happy to address that a little bit. I certified as a classroom teacher, and really for each one of these special areas, whether like if you certified as a librarian, I think that the components, they're very good about making sure that each component is very appropriate for what would be natural for a school counselor to do, or a librarian to do, or a general classroom teacher to do. So when Amanda explained to me, for instance, because I didn't know what school counselors were expected to do, that she had to look at the needs of her school from some data, a need that was in her building, and determine what would be appropriate for a small group to bring together and a goal for them, that made a lot of sense to me. So it didn't have to be that she was walking in and using someone's classroom. This was something that she did as a daily part of her job. For a classroom teacher, the expectations are more about, there's an entry that we described, component 2, a lot of levels, and component 2 for a classroom teacher in early childhood would look at how the content for them would be literacy, and it's like, how do you differentiate instruction when you're teaching literacy, and include some literacy samples from 2 different students. So so that's kind of how they're different. Obviously the content on the content assessment would be different, but they're still looking at, if component 1 is differentiation, how would you differentiate as a school counselor? How do you differentiate as a classroom teacher? How do you differentiate as a gym teacher? How do you differentiate in any of those areas? So that's kind of how it's different, is just that they're looking at more appropriate skill sets and examples for each certificate area. And we don't know yet what component 3 will look like. We have some idea about component 4 because it looks like it's going to be similar to a reflective entry that we had when we went through, but we don't know. And we have no idea what component 3 is going to look like, other than that there will be some videotape that will have to be submitted.
So it's changing, right?
Yes.
Okay, because I don't know a whole lot about it except for the teachers on my hall who just missed it by like point something Saturday. So I'm like, oh no, I didn't need to hear this. 2 teachers on the hall that have been working on it for years. One just barely missed it. So that's really about all I know. So I don't really, and she just said it was going to be changing. Mm-hmm. So I don't really know have guidance counselors done this before, or is this new?
Yes, and Amanda, who's she is a national board certified guidance counselor, but there are not very many in Kentucky. I don't think that the certificate for guidance counselors has been around long enough that anyone has needed to renew. The certificate lasts 10 years. So I think it's a newer one of the certificate areas, but Amanda is a national board certified guidance counselor in Bowling Green.
Okay, great.
Laura, we just had a group. There were 5 of us that started out on our national boards together at my school. I was the only guidance counselor, but there were 5 of us, and 2 of us didn't make it the first time. One of them is a great teacher, and she didn't. She's going to be on year 3 of that, and we talked about that earlier. And she, you know, it's just, I know if you're surrounded by people that are very frustrated right now because they missed it by a few points, but for us, I think that it really fits with our job. It doesn't, we don't have to go into classrooms and teach, you know, something that's not ours. I did, when I did my component, which might be the component 3, but when I did an entry, one of my entries was to go into a classroom and I worked on the ILP. And I know if you all are guidance counselors, you know what the ILP is, but try explaining all that in a paper. So I really, don't be afraid of the scoring. Don't let that stop you guys.
Because you think it's different, or, you know, for guidance counselors?
I think it fits us. I think that, you know, are you definitely going to be, I don't know, but I do think it fits us. And when I looked at ours versus like other things that the people were going through, I was thinking, I'm glad that I'm not having to do what they're doing. I'm glad that my entries were the way they were. They fit me. They fit us. And like I said, I didn't pass that first one, the take one. I mean, you have to have a 2.7 overall, and I scored a 2.2. I mean, I wasn't even close. About killed me.
Oh dear.
But the rest of them I passed. So I ended up averaging out over a 2.7, so I passed.
Okay, so we're talking how many, like so many tests in Nashville or in another city, and I mean, I'm really pretty ignorant about it. So you're talking about so many written tests, like maybe, you know, it's been a while since I've been in school.
I thought there was a pause there.
No, there was.
Okay, I was just going to say that I want to be mindful of the people's time that joined us at 7, so that if they don't have any more questions and want to hop off, please feel free to. You're not going to offend us whatsoever. We are recording everything. So so if you want to listen, you know, if you have something you have to do and you want to listen to the rest of this later, we'll send this recording to everyone, whether they attended or not, that is registered. And that way we can address some of Laura's questions if there's things that that she wanted to ask that maybe we didn't cover earlier. And Laura, we can also send you that link if there's, you know, if there's things that we've already gone through, because there's a lot of slides to show this. If you have some questions that we haven't addressed, we're happy to do that. But I want to also be mindful of the time for people that are juggling this with other tasks tonight.
Katie had a question about if you paid the fee again, if you redo the component. I'm not sure. Do you pay the $495 again as well?
I think it's $475 on the original cost, but I don't know. They haven't rolled that out yet. In the past, I want to say that when you redo, I don't think it costs as much as the whole thing, but I'm not 100% sure. And they have not rolled out those directions. Okay, so Lauren is saying you do have to pay again. I know you have to pay, but I'm just not sure. Do you know, Laura? Did she say it's the whole $475 again? Or is it a lesser rate? The product for the whole thing, and now it's right at about $2,000, depending on how many years it takes you to do it. In terms, you know, because it's $75 each year changes, you know, depending on how many years you do. So it's you will find out after each component, Kristen.
But it's an average. Correct? Like you could score a 2.2 on component 1 or component 2, and then a 3.2 on component 3. So you don't necessarily have to retake that component if you feel like you can, you know, move forward and.
Right. yeah, there are some components I did much better in than others, and all that matters is that your average is above the cut.
And I like when I went into to my national, like when you go into not EPSB, into the National Board Certification, your profile.
Right.
I applied for a scholarship that paid for $700 of mine. I got a $1,250 something from the state. Like there's lots of different ways to get it funded. You may not end up paying the whole $2,000.
Mm-hmm.
And it definitely is cheaper than getting a rank 1 through a degree through a university.
And I would strongly encourage you to, if you're interested, we can connect you also. If when you register, you'll be connected with people in your region that are doing conversations again with the superintendents and people. I'm surprised in the day and age where people are complaining about education cuts this year that haven't been, just because people are now asking them, and there's been a lot of support behind this work, that districts are saying, all we're doing is asking, and we're saying, well, would you give these teachers a release day to work on writing or to go to a jump start? Maybe if there's one that's during the day. They usually are not. They're usually on the weekends. But would you support that? Or and actually just yesterday, Bellevue Independent School District said, that he's interested in fully funding a certain number of candidates because he wants to improve, the superintendent there wants to improve his teacher retention, not just their instruction, but their retention. So, really, really good support from districts. You have any more questions, or are you guys feeling good about, you can reach out to us later if you want. We'll send you the recording. Thank you, Kristen. One of the nationally board certified teachers here in my district recently just said, really, you just need to do it. You just need to do it. Just quit asking, quit worrying about it and just jump in and do it. And you're going to ignore certification if you already have a rank 1. This, we did talk about this, that I had my rank 1 when I completed my national board, and so did Lauren. Amanda didn't, but she was close, and really that that's something. It still will increase your stipend. You'll still get a stipend above your rank 1 if you already have it, and it will make you better. Oh, I'm sorry, Laura, about the time zone. Yeah, I'm sorry.